match for a good blaster at your side.
Welcome to Hokey Religion, the Star Wars podcast. This episode, we have got some Episode 9 stuff to talk about. This is Tyler.
This is Michael.
Welcome to episode 89.
89. Yep.
Wow. Too many.
Yep. Too many for us, too many for you.
It's a general too many.
Too many all around. We're in the our exotic remote studio today.
The one with the echo.
Yes.
Hopefully it's not too bad.
Just
but...
bump up that monitor there a little bit because it is a little too much.
We're at the remote location in the woods where they won't find us, and neither will you.
You know that woods echo?
You know when you're in the woods and it's just echoing.
You got that classic wood echo sound going on. Some of that forest sounds bouncing off of rabbits.
All the trees and bodies.
Mhm.
So, a few things to talk about today.
Yep.
First off,
True.
Jon Favreau has continued to post things, behind the scenes photos of things that are happening with his show, The Mandalorian.
How dare he?
How dare he rile us up, get our britches in a twist.
How dare he? Russell, our Jimmy's.
Yes. Today, or I think it was yesterday, from when we were recording, he put up a picture of R5D4, which it has to be R5D4. It can only be R5D4.
I still don't know about that. I don't.
Same coloring. It looks pretty beat up. It's not a new R5. And you can only paint each R5 unique. Obviously, Michael, you can't have the same paint scheme on multiple
you can't
R5s.
have another red?
No,
You
it's
sure?
not allowed.
Oh.
Once they paint the one, they throw away that paint bucket at the factory. They have to mix up a new color.
I don't know.
So the Mandalorian takes place roughly 7 years after
I think
R5's.
you're right, though. It really,
Right?
It is the same. paint
R5,
scheme.
famous for having a bad motivator and starting off the entire Star Wars saga. Basically, it's R5's.
It is.
It is because of R5 that we have Star Wars films.
Yep,
Otherwise, the story would have never happened.
that's true.
He's the most important character in all of Star Wars, really. So it's roughly 7 years after he exploded just a little bit in front of Luke,
Yep.
making him then by R2 instead.
He's got a bad motivator. Look,
Yep, that's exactly
the line that we all know.
some of the whining from the Skywalker family that definitely runs in their blood.
Some of that classic wine.
So R5 is great. He's in the Mandalorian. Why does that matter? Well, we've seen so far a lot of desert landscape and shots from the Mandalorian and sets and things like that.
Right.
So this could very well actually be taking place on Tatooine.
Yeah.
Which, if that's the case, this is also taking place in the same time period as the Aftermath series of books.
Yep.
Which has stuff that takes place in Tatooine.
Yep.
In which
If you remember, specifically the one very exciting thing that takes place.
that's when someone I
should
forget
know
his name.
as someone who has not read any of the books.
Right. I've been told by sources,
You.
who is me, that so there is an interlude taking place on Tatooine where someone steals basically instead of purchasing Boba Fett's armor
Yes.
and calls himself like the sheriff basically of Tatooine. he says he's basically the sheriff of Tatooine, and I cannot remember if he actually had a name in the book or not.
I think he did.
But this is going to be, if this takes place on Tatooine or has anything that takes place on Tatooine in this same time period, there is somebody with Boba Fett's armor running around.
Cobb Vanth.
Yes, that's right.
Cobb.
Yep, like corn on the, right?
The sheriff of Freetown.
That's it. Sounds like something from Fallout.
It does. It sounds like one of those extra characters that you run into that has either has one short quest for you or is hindering a short quest.
Right.
Or a contact for one.
Exactly.
Mhm.
But that's very exciting that we
Apparently
may have.
he was in all 3 novels.
There were interludes with. Wait, I guess he did become a bounty hunter that was hired by the third one, I think. I think he was like actually a character in the third one as he was hired by
He appears in 3 interlude chapters in the trilogy.
in the whole thing.
His lines are told from the point of views of somebody, Adwin Charu,
Interesting.
Malakili in the second one, and Lorgan Movellen in the third one.
Interesting.
Someone, were they like recounting stuff that he had said?
Well, I thought it could have been no. There was the other bounty hunter that was new, the one that fought Dengar, and he was like some fancy dude that didn't act or dress like a bounty hunter that all of them hated. That he got hired by
So he came back.
the Empire. But yeah, so we have this Cobb Vanth guy who has Boba Fett's armor and is going to be in Tatooine, or at least was in Tatooine, in the same time period of The Mandalorian.
Mhm.
And if we have R5, it's most likely going to be on Tatooine.
Yeah.
So it is very possible we have a quote unquote Boba Fett in the show.
I wonder if it'll be him specifically, or I mean, that's the only thing we have to go off of is this is Tatooine, and this guy was on Tatooine, and he has Boba Fett's armor.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that, I mean, this time period as a whole, there's a lot of stuff that could cross over with a lot of stories that have been told now in that time period, like the Aftermath books.
Yeah.
You could have various characters from that show up, which would be cool. But I don't know. It's exciting.
Yeah. I still wonder. I wonder if
Would they do that?
Would they bring
put a
him-
Boba Fett character in the film?
does it seem too obvious?
Why? Because the show is The Mandalorian.
Yeah, and that's the only Mandalorian that most people know besides Jango Fett.
Maybe
I mean, people who've watched Clone Wars know a little bit
we
more.
don't know the Mandalorian's name yet, do we?
Not the lone gunman guy, no.
What if he's Cobb Vanth and he gets the armor at the end of the show,
At the end of the show. I don't know, maybe.
or at some point during the show?
That would be weird. That'd be a little weird to base.
He was the sheriff of Freetown. He's trying to like protect his people or whatever.
But this
He's
guy
this
is
lone gunman.
this guy
It's
is
a western. They could totally be the. He could be the sheriff.
This guy is well, first of all, wasn't he like an out of towner?
Well, he's a Mandalorian, I assume. So he's an out of planeter.
No, I mean like he was let me
He's
just
on
read.
vacation.
I'm just gonna read.
Okay.
1 second.
Let's wait while Michael reads. Ooh. Are you done yet? Nope. Oh no.
Just real quick here.
This is the part where we turn into a smooth jazz station, and you're listening to 89 something because that's what all of those stations are on. Still nothing. You stopped the music and you still got nothing. I give up on you officially. But I mean,
he doesn't seem like somebody who. I mean, this takes place mostly on Mandalore, right? Or it's
we don't know.
or
He's the Mandalorian. Mandalore is where he goes.
okay.
He brings a little bit of his
Home is where the
hometown.
heart is.
Right. He's there to terraform Tatooine into Mandalore.
Hmm.
That's his mission.
Mm.
I don't know. I just, especially him being like a lone gunman. If there is this sheriff of Freetown, Cobb Vanth, who is kind of a violent person, right? Like he finds this armor and basically steals it, kills the people, and takes it. Cobb Vanth could be the villain of the show.
He was tasked with retrieving the armor by a crime lord.
Right. I mean, he could be a
So-
villain. He could technically be a villain in the show.
Cobb Vanth could be. Well, I'm not gonna. I don't think he is Cobb Vanth. I don't think the
Maybe not.
Mandalorian is Cobb Vanth, but he could be
I'm
there.
saying Cobb Vanth could be a villain in the show
Maybe
at some point
that would be interesting.
because he was saying he was the sheriff of Freetown. I don't, wherever that takes place on Tatooine.
Yeah.
You could definitely tie some of that in, but I'm trying to
The Sheriff of
decide. if
Freetown sounds like a Mad Max character.
the sheriff of Freetown. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's
basically.
Gas Village. It's Guzzle Town.
Drysburg.
It's Bullet Place.
Bullet place. I'm trying to decide if it would be too hokey or just dumb to have.
We got to it. The name of the show. We can
said
stop
it.
now.
I'm trying to decide if it would be too weird to have Boba Fett, anyone with any part of Boba Fett's armor in the show. If that would be too like, hey.
If it wasn't Boba Fett, it would be very confusing and a little upsetting.
For other people. They would have to explain it.
Yeah. But I guess, I mean, they did throw Darth Maul into a main Star Wars movie
Right.
at the end after he was supposedly dead. So.
And I heard the arguments in the theater after that happened.
Right. So maybe they'll just do it.
Of parents telling their son, they're like, no, he died. That was just another one of them. That couldn't have been Darth Maul. And the kid's like, no, Dad, he was in Clone Wars and he got robot legs. I'm like, shut up. And then they shoved
Can
him
you
into
imagine as a parent hearing that and not knowing what any of that means?
One day
he was in Clone Wars and he got robot legs.
Son, we're taking you back to the hospital. We're not seeing any movies anymore. This kid keeps talking about the robots and the clones.
They're about to put the shock things on his temples. He's like, but he got robot legs.
Now, son, there's only one Zabrak that is Darth Maul. There cannot be others because he died in a film. No, Dad, I swear. I can just, but also think of that, now that we're totally off on that topic, when there may be a day where our children may know more about Star Wars than we do.
Impossible.
Impossible. I won't allow it. Not in my house.
I burn all of our Star Wars movies.
That's the day he moves out. Because it's like the parents, or it was a father and an older
come
brother.
on. The parents who are saying stuff like that are the parents that are like,
well, no, so this was after, I think after
The
you and I
Notebook was
saw.
a good movie.
It was either after you and I saw Solo or after I saw it with my wife. I can't remember which time.
What's the difference?
You and her run together, really.
We run together.
You blend together.
Okay.
After the film, I was waiting for someone to finish going to the bathroom, whether it be you or my wife. Somebody was peeing somewhere. And
that's a safe bet. Most places where you are, you could say that and be
you
right.
could assume wherever you are right now, someone's probably peed there.
Oh, no.
Exactly where you are. It might be you right now. So there were two.
You're
floating. There were two
You're
adult,
floating in pee.
There were two adult males, assumedly the fathers.
Set the scene for me. Where were the two adult males? You were waiting outside the bathroom.
They were also standing outside the bathroom, arguing about the film.
Waiting for me or your wife to finish peeing.
Probably.
Okay.
I said, wait, they're not here yet. And so they're like, fine, we'll argue about this movie while we wait. So there were two older males and a older son and a younger son. And the two fathers were talking about the film as if they knew about Star Wars in some capacity, like decently well.
Okay.
Like they were fans of Star Wars when they were kids, type of thing. They saw the original movies and even knew about the prequels and knew that Darth Maul had died in them, right?
Okay.
But the son, the youngest one, the littlest one, was trying to explain how he wasn't dead and he was in
the whole Darth Maul
timeline.
Thing. Yeah.
And both of the fathers, I think, and the older brother is what it seemed like.
Yeah.
We're all like, no, that's wrong. Shut up. Basically just shooting him down with everything he was trying to explain to them.
That poor kid.
And
we should get that kid as a guest on the show.
I wanted to step in and be like, all of you are wrong. This young man is correct. And then just take him away. Just remove him from the situation.
You'd pick him up and take him into the bathroom, and then you're there for like an hour.
I put a sash over him and like give him a little crown, and then I throw him on my shoulder, and then I march him around
and you walk right out the exit into your car.
I march him around the foyer of the movie theater, and then we just leave. And I tell him that I'm saving you from this living situation that you're stuck in.
And the dad's like, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, he's pretty shitty. He thinks Darth Maul is still alive. I felt so bad for that kid because I remember
you should have said something.
Being that kid.
If I was your wife, I would have come out and said something.
You shuffle out of the bathroom with your pants still around your ankles. No, he's right. He's right. You have to believe him.
I put my hand on their shoulder. Excuse me. I couldn't help it here. Yeah.
And while you're talking to them, that's when I steal the kid and save him from his.
Ha!
His life.
This was the plan the whole time.
He's ours. He knows too much. And that's how we got to that. But yeah, there's going to be people. Basically, that same situation would happen with
15 years from now, or whatever.
With the Mandalorian. If a Boba Fett was in it, right?
Oh.
Some people would be like, "No, he fell in the pit," and somebody else would be like, "Well, no, yes, but then they found the armor, and then this other guy bought it, and his name's this." And we're like, "No, shut up! Give me more pork rinds."
Pork rinds,
or whatever. These shitty people that won't listen to people that know what they're talking about complain about.
What theater is this?
No, it's a movie show. It's a movie show. Jesus, it's a TV show. It's a television show, so it's in your own home.
It's the movie show.
Welcome to the movie show. Today's episode is movies. Just between every line that happens in the intro.
Yeah.
Great. So yeah, you would get those same arguments and misunderstandings of what's happening with Boba Fett as you would in Solo, of the people that don't understand that Darth Maul has way more of a story in other media than the films.
And it's probably a little bit lower stakes too, because this is a streaming service. You know, it's
that may
a
or may not
TV
work.
series on that may or may not work. You were saying earlier, you wonder how well this thing is going to.
I mean, obviously
behave.
they probably, it's Disney. They have the metrics, right? They already have the ESPN streaming service with an app and all of that. So
they've got the infrastructure for it.
Right. They have to
likely.
understand the demand and the bandwidth. Because I mean, from what it sounds like, Mandalorian is supposed to come out on September 1st of this year.
Yeah.
We still don't really have a date on when the streaming service goes live.
I would imagine
sometime this summer, or even
the week before September 1st.
Right.
Something like that.
I would want it to go if I was them, it would have to be earlier than that to stress test it and make sure it worked by the time Mandalorian came out, right?
Yeah, put all the existing stuff up there and then hype Mandalorian. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, just every commercial on every show is just the Mandalorian, basically.
Yeah.
But I wonder how prepared they are for when the Mandalorian goes up and the bandwidth that is going to demand, because I feel like as big as Netflix is, or even as big as football games may be on the ESPN app, I feel like a Star Wars show is going to be many times over what any of the very popular Netflix or football games are that are streamed.
Probably. Yeah.
And if that does not go well, it's going to be
Star Wars more popular than sports?
Yeah. That's why any of us watch halftimes in Star Wars in football games, is when they have a trailer for the new movie.
I feel like that's not true, but
all of us, every single one.
I don't have anything to back that up.
No. That's why I watch every football game, just in case there's a new Star Wars trailer. I watch every single one of them.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. In the same vein, talking about bandwidth, it is supposed, we were talking about this, I believe, last episode, the amount of people that are expected to go to Disneyland when Galaxy's Edge opens.
Right. Yeah.
It is, I guess, rumored, or someone with inside knowledge was saying, and just unnamed, that Disneyland is not going to limit capacity when when Galaxy's Edge opens.
Oh my gosh. There's no way you could do anything. No. Just think about just even that general area where the park is.
No, it's just going to be
like parking. You wouldn't be able to park.
Mad.
If it's at capacity, you wouldn't be able to park. You'd have to.
Obviously there's a fire marshal code, right, for capacity, right? They have to limit it at some point. But that's probably
what does that mean then?
Capacity.
What does not limit capacity mean then? How do you stay within fire laws like that, but then still turn people away?
Yeah, I'm just thinking they're not going to limit it to try to keep it like a soft opening or a comfortable opening, but like if we'll push it to the limit, and then we'll
push it to the limit,
open as we can. Because I've been to I've been to Disney World on days when it's reached capacity, and it is hell.
Yeah, it's really bad.
It is. You know, this. I don't even know how big Disney World, Magic Kingdom is. It's huge. It's many acres.
Way bigger than Disneyland.
Yeah, and it is just like shoulder to shoulder people on every place you can stand.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, God forbid you have a stroller or anything like that, a wheelchair. I mean,
yeah,
anything that
you
requires
just,
more
you just
room
run over
than-
feet, and everyone has to understand that. Yeah, that's what's going to happen now.
Right.
So yeah, just especially with the rumored amount of people for Galaxy's Edge, not limiting capacity in any way, it's going to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And how do you even maintain? I mean, we keep talking about maintaining the interactivity or the I don't know, facade of this being real, right?
Yeah.
When
right.
it's that full and you're having to like stop people from trampling each other, how do you maintain? how you even maintain any semblance of, you know, don't kill each other, but look at everything that's real and these droids and that alien,
Right.
without people just gawking and I don't know, tackling each other.
Something I keep thinking about is, so they're supposed to have these like not really street shows in the sense that they normally have a street show.
Various things breaking out that are real in the world.
Yes.
Right.
Right. So like a normal street show would be, you know, somebody comes out with a cart, 3 people come out with a cart or a car or whatever, and they just stand there and do a thing, and everyone just circles around them and then they go away.
Yeah.
You know, but this is from what has been described anyway, this is something like people are running around the park.
Yeah, there could be like a random stormtrooper chasing some,
yeah,
you know, resistance fighter.
Right. Or somebody in character doing something is moving around and kind of using the scenery and stuff as part of the story.
Right.
Like it's all this big immersive thing. How do you do stuff like that when
Without
it's shoulder
everyone
to shoulder?
stopping you and trying to take pictures and
Right.
Yeah.
How do you do it and keep it immersive too without like handlers and
Or, like,
things
you
like
can't
that?
roping off the street for
Right.
watch out, here comes the stormtrooper tank.
Here comes the story. Everybody line up to watch the story. And it's, you know, they mark it off like the parade and
Just
everybody
roll
sits.
out like clear plexiglass walls that just say like story wall.
Everybody sits and waits for 30 minutes and gets the best spot. And then it's just like 2 people running down the road. One has a cap gun and he's shooting at the other one.
I need to buy more milk.
Why are you shooting at me? I just want milk. Is milk a crime? Yeah, I don't know. We keep having these questions. Every question about this park we've had is how are they going to keep this immersive in some way?
Yeah.
With some part of the park. I don't know how it's going to work.
And the problem is the guests, not the park, right? The problem is the people that are going to visit.
The concept, that's what we keep saying is the concept sounds incredible. And if they are actually able to execute it, it's going to be incredible.
But at the same time, if you think about the random things like that break out in Disney World today, like Main Street USA in Magic Kingdom, they have those, or I don't know if it's Main Street. Maybe I'm thinking of Hollywood Studios, where you have like those Hollywood actors that just kind of walk out, or like the singers, like the barbershop quartet that just kind of comes out in Magic Kingdom.
That's what I'm saying. But
they're not roped off, and there's really not a handler like pushing people back. Like everyone seems to kind of understand, like, let's stand and watch, but not tackle them because we're human. We're not monsters.
Well, that's the kind of thing I'm talking about, though, is that's a more, this is a show kind of thing.
Maybe.
You know, and this, from, like I'm saying, from what's been described, it's the whole park is a show. You know?
Kind of.
Like there are things that are going to be happening all over the place and are going to move throughout the whole park.
And for anyone that's been to the Harry Potter sections of Universal Studios, I kind of think of the whole park on the regular Universal Studios side, where you walk back through those buildings and then suddenly you're in Diagon Alley.
Yeah.
Where like the French witch ladies come out and like do a little song and dance thing,
but that's on a stage. That's a planned
it is a stage,
thing
but
with
there's not like handlers or anyone. You're still gonna have the times for some stuff, I'm sure.
You think, really?
Probably.
Possibly.
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 Uh-oh. Hold on.
That was my not any real race accent. But I mean, I think about the same thing of like at
Not a
Epcot.
real race.
No, there is no race that has that accent. It's just a Tyler talk. There's like in Epcot, they have like the trash can robot that would come out and roll around and talk to people.
Okay, yeah, that's probably a
Where
good
there's a
example.
hidden handler that's controlling it, right? Who's like standing and dressed like part of the crowd,
Yeah.
and he's rolling around, and no one like runs up and kicks over the trash can, right? Like there's
As much as you want to.
people aren't that much of a monster.
I guess.
Not in that setting at least. They're kicking their children instead.
Yeah.
If you've seen the way anyone treats their children at Disney World.
On leashes.
Yeah.
They have the leash kid and they pull him on the leash back so he can't even get away if he wanted to. And then they
He's
kick
trying.
him and then they let him walk out again. They pull him back and kick him again.
Get back here. No, get back out there. No, get back here. Yeah, that. But I mean, there's stuff like that that's happening. Just like you could do that with a droid, right? The same thing as the talking trash can. You could do that with a droid rolling around and talking to people and
Well, sure, a
beeping and
droid
booping
is more simple. I'm talking when multiple
and
people
stuff
are
just
involved.
happening.
Yeah.
But I mean, if there's like street chases or anything like that, that's
full
where it starts
cars driving through the park.
to get. When Tokyo Drift happens in Star Wars Land, you've got speeders like ripping around the corner, taking out guests. But instead of that, it's actually just it's a car chase, but they're just supposed to imagine that it's in slow mo. It's just slowly.
It's just a very slow car.
Yeah. Everyone's moving in slow mo, and you're just supposed to
You're
imagine
walking
what it was like if it was sped up.
You're walking by like, what are you doing?
The car chase, the speeder chase takes like an hour to get around one
You're
street.
like- they're like moving really slow, and someone just walks up normal speed and does a little selfie thing and then walks
Right.
away.
Exactly.
This wouldn't be such a big deal if they hadn't stressed like how immersive this experience is going to be over other things like Avatar or like the Avatar Land and Animal Kingdom. They stressed how it was going to look like the environment, but they never made a really big point to say like this is going to be like you're in a movie, you know?
But that's also how they are playing it though, aren't they? Like they have like once you go into Avatar Land, it is like you're there.
It is pretty
Well, like-
immersive, sure,
Like
but
there's the characters and the act, and like basically the street people are actors, and you've got the people.
did they
in
have
big-
street people?
You have people in like big robot suits, don't you?
Maybe.
Sometimes. But I'm sure there's still like stores with people with Disney.
But from
tags
what I
on it.
remember, when that was being announced and the construction was going on and there were rumors and stuff about it, they never were really stressing how like the immersive experience was going to be a cornerstone of it, right?
Yeah.
Which is what they're doing here, which makes me think this is going to be different.
It's possible.
But again,
That's
How is
this
that
the
gonna
same
work?
problem we've always had talking about it. But we've got plenty of other exciting things to talk about, Michael. Like rumors. If we want to get to that now. Do you
well,
have anything else before we get to
yeah, real
totally
quick.
spoiling the rest of Star Wars Episode 9?
Yeah, so real quick. We're talking about the Mandalorian, the Cassian Andor show. There's a rumor that that's supposed to start production in October of this year.
Mhm.
That's already been announced that that's going to be coming to the streaming service as well.
October, or start shooting in October.
The production will start. I don't know if that's actually principal photography
Right.
or what, but that's the rumor anyway.
Okay.
A little bit on Fallen Order. So we talked about Star Wars games last time and how shitty EA is, and so the only game on the slate right now, the only Star Wars game on the slate right now is Fallen Order. That's rumored to come out in November of this
Right.
year.
That's pretty cool.
And the setting is supposed to be, which I think we've heard this before. We may have even talked about it, but the setting is supposed to be after Revenge of the Sith, and it's based on a Padawan who survives Order 66. So think like
Right.
a Kanan,
Or Kanan, Ahsoka,
right?
any of them.
Right. I mean, Kanan specifically.
Kanan
was a
specifically
Padawan.
is,
Ahsoka
I
was
guess.
a Jedi Knight at that point. I would say, right?
I mean, if she wasn't kicked out, yeah.
She would have been knighted.
Right.
She was at that point. that decision point. But anyway, yeah, like a Kanan. Kanan's a little bit younger.
Right. That makes sense.
God, I hope it's not actually Kanan. Can you imagine how
Young
shitty
Kanan.
that would be? Have to play Rebels. Not only do we have to watch it, we have to play it too. We don't have a choice. It's the only Star Wars game. Of course we have to play it.
Yeah, of course.
I even played Battlefront 2.
I'm sure Kanan's story up to that point would be fine to play.
Up to what point?
Meeting
Up
Ezra.
until Ezra. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Up until Ezra.
I mean, really,
gets
that's my one problem with that show is Ezra's just the worst person, and I hate him for no reason, really, other than he's just annoying.
I talk about a Mary Sue, right? That everyone's complaining Ray is a Mary Sue, but
Yeah, Ezra is just as
Ezra
as
has
much.
no obstacles.
If you want to assume a Mary Sue, he just as much learns everything out of nowhere and is the most powerful person ever, and Darth Vader can't capture him. Yeah.
Anyway,
Speaking about games and EA, just a little update on them. Insiders are dumping stock like it's on fire. So
really?
yeah, it's not looking good for EA.
Is it because of the
Currently.
Anthem stuff?
Anthem stuff,
Anthem's
the
not
Star
doing
Wars
well.
stuff, and their microtransactions are starting to become illegal in many countries.
Oh, good lord! Finally,
They're having to remove microtransactions from like FIFA and stuff like that in Belgium because
Because it's
now,
illegal.
It's now illegal and considered gambling,
right? Exactly.
and so they're having to remove microtransactions from FIFA, which is like the only way they make any money off of FIFA because 10 people buy it and they spend all their money on the microtransactions. But
10
especially,
people buy it.
especially FIFA is giant in Europe, right? Especially like Belgium and countries like that. Like soccer, football is the sport of all. Got that in highlight. I don't know.
Highlight.
I'm assuming
Highlight is really big in Belgium.
cricket, whatever. Flip cup. Sure, there's something else. But like, soccer games are giant in Europe, and most European countries are starting to make microtransactions illegal because they are seen as gambling.
Yeah.
So most of their revenue now is microtransactions. That's how they make most of their revenue on anything anymore.
Wow.
Because they produce so few games now that they just dump out a game with everything being a microtransaction, and that's like 80% of their income. But with it starting to become illegal in many countries, their prospects are not looking great, and
Interesting.
shareholders are starting to dump stock.
Oh, man. So does this mean Fallen Order is going to get canceled too?
If they do it right, that'll be like the one thing that'll make them money, right?
I know that's what we were saying last time. Is that can you imagine the market for these Star Wars games that they're just throwing away?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's because they
We don't
shifted
need to go into that whole
they
thing
shifted
again.
so much focus into microtransactions that they can't even get away from they dug their hole so deep into microtransactions. They don't have the money to make another game because they know it won't make as much money as the microtransactions were. So they won't even put the time into it because they've already dug their grave and are living in it.
Oh boy.
But now countries are starting to fill dirt up in that grave, and they're just going to be there with no way to make money anymore.
Yeah. I mean, eventually the pendulum is going to swing back the other way when people start realizing, oh, now we have to pay
We could only fool them for so long.
these ridiculous prices for games again because there's no more in-app
Especially when
purchase.
you have games like the Spider-Man game that came out,
Yeah.
and like all that they're just
The DLC was free, right?
Every
All
week,
of that DLC?
I don't know if the DLC was free.
Oh.
I don't think the DLC was free, but all the costumes,
Yeah.
which would be DLC in any other game,
Yeah.
every single costume they have released is just free, right?
Mm.
Unless it's part of a DLC specifically. But like every other week, they'll just be like, "Oh, here's 3 more costumes we came up with," and just add them to the game out of
Nice.
nowhere. They gave in I think it was this past week they put in 2 costumes from Fantastic Four series
Okay.
type
yeah.
of thing. So they just keep like dumping out free content.
That's sort of what Battlefront 2 is doing right now. Like Count Dooku is supposed to show up now.
Right.
But these heroes that have been announced in the past, year or two, they're free. You don't have to pay for them.
Right.
Now it's ridiculous. The process to unlock them is ridiculous in the game.
Well, yeah.
But it's a, free.
It's like Resident Evil
quote-unquote
2
hero.
just came out, the remake, and they just announced there are 3 DLC stories that are completely free. If you own the game, you're going to get them.
Nice.
So they're just
Eventually.
coming out in February. I think they all 3 start coming out, or they start coming out in February.
Okay.
But it's just like, hey, you bought a game. By the way, we're just going to start dumping out free content for this game because we don't think you're trash like other companies. Anyway, video game
All right,
rant
let's
over.
let's move on from video games and let's talk about episode 9. As usual, we're getting into the good stuff over halfway through the episode.
Oh yeah, that's our. We wait for you
That's
to
our hallmark.
leave, and then we get into the really good.
We get into what we
quality.
actually want to talk about. Well, we want to talk about all.
We
of
should
it.
start cutting our podcast in half. Like after we're done recording, just put the second half in the front, and then put the front half in the
Can you
back.
imagine how
Just
disorienting
split
that would
them,
be?
split them and flip it. Yeah,
Cut it together.
that would be really weird.
So that would we leave the intro music in the middle of the podcast? So we talk about the stuff at the end,
Right.
and then the intro music would play at the
We
end.
talk about everything. Then
And
there's
then
even
play
the
again.
outro stuff of us talking about Facebook and
Yeah.
iTunes and everything.
And
And,
then
then there's the
outro.
intro music. And then
and
there's
then,
us.
and then the
opening
other half
podcast.
no one wants to hear. Oh, yeah.
If you care about
Well,
possibly-
before we talk about spoilers, we
ooh.
could say
Huh.
no spoiler, but the rumor is
the
is
rumor
true.
comes out.
Yeah, I always get that part mixed up. The rumor comes out. Probably no trailer during the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's almost. I mean, it's for all
Which-
intents and purposes
which makes sense.
confirmed that there's not going to be any teaser or trailer during the Super Bowl.
Which makes sense because we've got Celebration coming up in just a few months.
Right.
That's the ideal place to release the trailer. in my opinion.
However, as of recording, the random announcement that the Star Wars show comes back to. So we're recording this on a Tuesday, right before the Star Wars show has just announced. Oh yeah, we're coming back on Wednesday.
Yeah, here's the shitty thing that happens to us all the time.
Constantly.
It was announced hours before we sat down to record this that the Star Wars show is rumored to come back tomorrow, Wednesday,
Right.
which at this point is in the past, and whatever announcement happened has already happened, and everybody knows
At the
about
same
it.
time, Delilah Dawson, who wrote the Phasma book,
Yes.
also announced that she has some announcement thing tomorrow
See, there's a secret thing.
that she's announcing that's probably going to get announced tomorrow. She keeps saying, I think I can tell you about something tomorrow.
Yeah.
So it has to come, it has to be related to Star Wars, everyone's assuming at this point.
If the Star Wars show both is
Um,
rumored to come back and there's this thing that's being teased, probably going to be announced on the show.
I mean,
But-
for all we know, they're going to give us a title tomorrow.
Here we
after
are.
we've already recorded this episode, and we can't talk about it because they
So
wait.
we could drop in us talking about it here if something happens.
Wow, what a great title.
That's
Michael.
amazing.
I like it.
Wow. What a great news.
I can't believe it's called The Return of the Snokes. The Revenge of the Snokes.
The Snokes are back and they're pissed.
A gaggle of Snokes.
Every Snoke has robot legs. Man, can you imagine if Snoke came back with robot legs like Maul?
No, he would have robot hands and just a robot torso connecting his two halves.
Just like a 3PO. Just
Yeah,
a torso of wires.
A band in the middle. Yeah. Star Wars Episode 9. Group of Snokes. A band of Snokes.
Yeah, so that was great. Good news, everyone.
There, just to insert whatever the title was there, and that's exactly how excited we were for it.
No
I
way.
assume.
Yay.
So yeah, that definitely something fantastical will happen after we've recorded, and we'll be screwed as always.
yes. Happy New Year's, everyone.
So,
Ho, ho, ho. Merry
No.
Christmas.
not Merry Crimpus.
Merry Christmas.
All right. So if you care at all about Episode 9 and what it may entail, and you don't want to have any
Stop listening to our show now.
if you don't want to have any assumptions going into it for possible leaks or rumors, then go away right now because we're going to talk about some pretty important leaks / rumors that have come out.
All right.
And
Here we go.
I'm excited.
Which one do you want to do first? There's two.
They're, ooh, the one with Finn, Poe, and Chewbacca.
Okay.
It's all all kind of wrapped up into one.
So again, let's stress that these are rumors, but
Rumors for someone that
we're all friends here.
Rumors from someone that is,
Not proven.
well, supposed to have been an extra on set at Pinewood.
But again, internet.
But the internet is where you can say whatever you want, and it doesn't have to be true. Just one person has to believe it.
Yep, that's right. It has to have just enough of a grain of truth in it that you could sucker somebody into it.
Yep.
All right. Anyway,
So,
You gonna read the whole thing word for word, or are you gonna?
No.
Let's paraphrase it.
Paraphrase. So the actress,
Wow.
I'm
This
trying to
is
find
news.
her name just left my brain. Naomi Ackie. Naomi Ackie is playing someone in Star Wars Episode 9. And the rumor is her name is Vera. But wait,
There's more.
her name is rumored to be Vera Calrissian.
Yes.
Full name Verenata.
Are we still
Calrissian.
doing? Are we still doing Yes Queen? Is that a thing?
I mean, we're old and white, so sure.
Okay.
That's Queen Slay.
Yes. I'm sorry I stepped on that.
That was gonna be the one thing we could cut out of the episode that would have been good. So yeah, her name is rumored to be Verenata Calrissian or Vera Calrissian, the supposed daughter of
Not
Lando.
veranda, like the patio.
So supposedly the daughter of Lando Calrissian. It is possible.
Discuss.
Everyone, write down. I want you to write 500 words on what this means to you. So it is rumored that her and her father are possibly estranged.
Here's what we know: Billy D. Williams is in it.
Billy D. Williams in the movie. This actress, supposedly his daughter.
So specifically, the rumor around her
Yes.
is
So we've talked about Dominic Monaghan's character before.
Yep.
And the rumors around that of him being part of this other, not necessarily the resistance, maybe a resistance group or
like an underground network.
a resistance type group
Yeah,
that
right.
operates. And we've seen set photos of these people standing out in, I think it was like some green hills
Okay.
on some planet, right? We saw them. They had, various like makeshift armor type stuff, but
Yeah.
they looked very resistance-esque. It almost reminded me of like a resistance meets the group from Solo, the people that they were fighting against that ended up being the child that was stealing
Wow.
stuff from them. And I totally
Cannot remember.
Sky Riders, the
The
bike masters,
the
sand
sand
mans.
honkies.
They were not honkies.
The swoopers.
The swoop dupers. That's them.
the stealing
The swanky smugglers.
the stealing swanky smugglers.
Now we're getting into names from Legends from the Hidden Temple teams. The Silver Snakes.
The white snakes.
Oh no. That's a different group. That shouldn't probably be in Star Wars. So anyways, Dominic Monaghan is obviously from this previous rumor part of this other group, not necessarily resistance, possibly some kind of guerrilla warfare type group, maybe.
Uh-huh.
It is rumored that Naomi is or Vera is part of that group as well. And that Poe, Finn, and Chewbacca go to a planet to find Vera, possibly based off possibly from the request of Lando. And they find her, and she takes them back to this underground type base where they run into Dominic Monaghan's character, who is named Argyle. What is his name?
Argyle.
It is similar, very similar to that name, and it's right. Arville.
Chadwick.
Arville.
Oh. Or Orville.
Arville.
Redenbacher. The
Yes,
popcorn.
the popcorn man,
Okay.
and or the plane people.
The flame.
You know,
What are you trying to say?
Orville, right?
Orble and Burble.
Yeah, they created the plane. Orville and Burble, the brothers.
We created a plane. Me, Orble, and my brother, Borble.
This is them drunk after their first flight about how excited they were.
We put a thing.
I love how we're ruining this very cool idea.
Anyway,
of what's gonna happen in the film.
get it back.
So Vera takes Poe, Finn, and Chewbacca back to this base where they run into Dominic Monaghan's character Orville Redenbacher. And anyways, there doesn't seem to be like a formal leader. But they both seem to be kind of in leadership roles. They talk about a recent skirmish that happened.
This is 2019, after all.
Right. No one's a leader. We just assume possible
That's
leadership.
not where I was going with that, but okay. Continue.
There's no one in charge. Everything's on fire. They discuss a recent skirmish that happened while when the Resistance arrived on the planet, and Poe kind of fights with Dominic's character, whatever. Anyways, Naomi's character, Vera, says they found something valuable at the cost of losing several soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
They enter an accompanied room, and there's a body seated with a bag over the head. This person with the bag over their head gets dropped down. I guess it was on the back of a horse or something like that, and it was brought in, and then the body's dropped down.
A space horse.
Yep, sporce. And it is revealed.
Horps.
What?
A horps.
Horse. Anyways, this person drops down. Bag off their head is revealed to be a cowering General Hux.
Hey.
He admits surrender and is searched by Dominic, who then proceeds to kind of beat him up a little bit. Anyways, this definitely lines up with other rumors we had many months ago about General Hux possibly being an informant for the Resistance,
Right.
whether it was known to be General Hux or not. So it is very possible that they, either get information out of him or turn him into an informant.
Yeah.
And send him back.
Via slaps.
Yeah, they slap him into informancy. So they somehow General Hux becomes an informant. Maybe he gets sent back to the First Order to continue doing his job, but giving them information, or they just torture the shit out of him until they know what they, get what they want, and then who knows what happens from there.
Right.
But
Which also I really like. I mean, more credibility into this. Just his character arc in Last Jedi and where he's ended up now.
He hates Kylo.
He hates Kylo. Snoke is gone, which is the only guy who was giving him power and, pretended to, according to Hux, I don't know whether he suspected it or not, or suspected Snoke of using him or not, but Snoke was the one giving him power and trusting him, at least to his face and all that stuff. And now Snoke is gone. So,
and Kylo's just using him now. He's just a tool of Kylo's anger.
Right. And Hux, obviously, like you said, I mean, he hates Kylo. He wanted to kill him and then didn't get the chance. That chance was ruined. So,
well, it's ruined by his own just lack of backbone.
Well, he tried. He went for his gun and everything. Remember at the end of Last Jedi?
Yeah,
when Kylo was out?
Thrown into and then Kylo just throws him around all over the place all the time.
Well, and then Kylo woke up. Yeah. But yeah. So yeah, it makes sense. One for Hux. I mean, we've talked about this before, but it makes sense for Hux to be an informant, and this is a very credible way for him to get to that point.
Yes.
And then now we have on top of that, come to find out,
Lando has a daughter.
Lando sent Finn and Poe to his daughter, who is kind of the entry point.
And from this rumor, it sounds like the purpose to go see his daughter was not necessarily because of Hux. That just happened.
Oh, really?
Along the same lines of,
or was it like a rumor that they had something that they would want?
Well, in this thing from this person, basically said that when the Resistance arrived on the planet, there was a skirmish, and they found something valuable at the cost of losing several soldiers. So through one means or another, at some point, I guess it could have been when the Resistance, prior to Finn and Poe getting there, it could have been at some other skirmish. Who knows?
Yeah.
But through some means, they got Hux in a battle. Why Hux would be there in person doesn't make sense to me, because he's like in charge.
Yeah.
But I mean, especially if Kylo is personally sending him after the Resistance now, just because he hates him. Kylo also seems to hate Hux so much, because they were both vying for Daddy's attention at one point.
Right.
And so now the stronger brother has won, and now he's just making the little brother do all the dirty work.
Right.
Most likely.
Right.
So he sends him to do whatever. Hux gets captured, and now he's just going to pussy out like he always does, and be turned into an information machine for the Resistance.
You've got Kylo in his Technicolor dream coat, and then his brother,
right,
who wants to sell him into slavery.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. That's a Bible reference.
But Joseph has a
Not really.
lightsaber in this instance, and the magic of God to throw him into walls.
Right. It's
So
a little different.
it's just a little different than all of that.
He's not just a fancy man.
Right. It's like if Jesus had a brother, but Jesus was evil, and the brother tried to fight Jesus, and Jesus just used all of his Jesus power to hurt him. That's let's take Jesus, make him not Jesus, and that's what's happening here.
All of his Jesus power.
You know when you use your Jesus power to thwart things. You've seen the videos
of Jesus power?
yeah, of the pastors, like those TV pastors, like waving their hand and
Yoda.
yeah, and then everyone falls down. It's the Jesus power.
Okay, yeah,
That's what the Force is, right?
gotcha. It's the Jesus power.
The power of Jesus.
Yeah, okay.
The power of Christ compels them.
Oh yes, I have heard this.
Okay, good.
All right, so that's rumor number 1.
And that's a pretty. I mean, that's
a pretty
all
big
of
thing.
that sounds good to me.
That all sounds credible, and I like it.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense for the story. It makes, like you were saying, makes sense for Hux.
Yeah.
It's very cool if Lando does have a daughter.
Yeah.
Through one of his various, boinkings, space boinkings.
Very well put.
Thank you. I pride myself on my eloquency.
Your what?
Uh-huh.
Eloquency.
Elocution.
Okay.
So yeah, Lando having a daughter would be cool. Meeting up with this other group and them basically being almost like a indifferent group, like you had in Rogue One with Forrest Whitaker's group of people, right? This kind of indifferent for the greater good, but almost walking that edge of guerrilla warfare type of thing.
Mhm.
This group getting Hux, and then them with the Resistance turning him into an informant, and then Hux seeing. I like the idea of seeing Hux walking that line with Kylo and trying to hide it from him, and constantly pissing himself, scared, constantly around Kylo the entire time. Because I can imagine that, right?
Yeah.
I can picture Hux just being like, Kylo walks out of the room and him being like, "Oh my god, I thought he was gonna kill me that time." Just being scared of like every time he's around him that he's going to find out, and just like sweating profusely, and it just always being this fine line he's walking of not getting found out, but trying to still maintain some sort of power, but he doesn't have any power anymore at this point. He's being used by both sides. He's just a tool for Kylo's wants, and he's a tool for the Resistance's information.
Right.
And Hux is just now he is Worm Tongue.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. So Hux probably thinks he's pretty powerful and important when he's not around Kylo.
Oh yeah.
But then in Kylo's presence, he's just this sniveling little worm.
Yeah.
Right.
It's the whole like Lord of the Rings relationship of Saruman and Wormtongue, right?
Right.
Where Wormtongue is like oh so cool and like trying to be the badass and Rohan when he's dealing with that whole situation, but then he gets kicked out and he runs away to Saruman, and Saruman just is like talking down to him the entire time because he's a little trash person.
Right.
To Saruman.
Right.
Because Saruman is powerful and has all the wizard abilities, just like Kylo would.
Right.
It's that same relationship of like, yeah, you have power in like one small area, and you've lost it to me now.
Yeah.
And Dom Hall plays that Hux character so great.
Yeah.
Of how he's just this pitiful person in charge that's trying to prove himself and just can't because he has no backbone.
Right.
Sounds familiar. Anyways,
excuse me.
just the world, Michael.
Okay.
It's a
the world
crazy place. Other rumors, Michael.
Other rumors does happen. Does true.
Other rumors does true.
So there is a rumor. This is kind of two separate things. First of all, that it's rumored that Kylo Ren's mask comes back.
Mm-hmm.
So the same leaker that
I would never want to be referred to as a leaker, but continue.
Okay. I'm not the leaker.
Hey mom, look at that leaker. Oh, avert your eyes.
How dare you? This is my son.
In a Walmart. Anyways.
Is the Walmart Yodel boy, is he a leaker? Is he a mouth leaker?
I don't know what that child is.
Okay. Anyway. It's rumored that Kylo Ren's mask is going to come back. That it was reconstructed somehow. This one seems a little like, I don't know, like maybe
Rumor. It's very much rumor. Like
very like concept kind of thing.
right. It doesn't really matter if it does happen or not.
Right.
Um,
But the rumor is that his mask is repaired and has been repaired with some kind of like Flex Seal or something. It's like this red. It was described as a red crystalline material.
yeah. So like when he smashed his mask, all those shards will basically have been put back together, but with like red crystalline material,
Lines and
like
and
red lines, in it,
jagged stuff.
which would look pretty imposing.
Yeah,
It would look very cool.
it would make for a great figure,
Right.
which is, I'm sure, at the top of their minds.
That's when you decide if you're having a mask or not. How cool does it look?
Right.
If it looks cool, the answer is yes. Have a mask.
So yeah, there's a rumor that his helmet will come back. Not really a whole lot of information of how much he would be wearing it, or if this is even going to happen at all. But that was interesting because it would be interesting for him to, because he started out with his mask thinking he was hot shit, right? With the
Right.
mask, and then Snoke in Last Jedi made fun of him for the mask.
And then he smashed it because Daddy didn't like it.
exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, he second guessed himself. So I'm
Stupid
wondering.
mask.
So I'm
He smashed
wondering
it.
now if in 9 he'll be like, yeah, I'll show you.
I'll show you, Dad.
I look
My
cool.
mask is cool.
Yeah, and then he just ends up wearing it the whole
It's
time.
got red
and-
lightning bolts in it now.
It's got red racing stripes. It's got to go faster. I could kill more people.
It's got a little spoiler on the back.
It's got spinners for the eyes.
I'm also picturing, like, the kids' bike helmets that have like the rubber mohawk on top, like the rubber spiked mohawk. I'm picturing that for some reason.
He rides a razor around.
Around his
Ripstik. He rides a
He rides
ripstick.
a ripstick around his capital strip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey.
Hux, go down there and do this thing.
I'm the best.
Then he wiggles his feet away on the ripstick.
You know how it takes like
It takes so
you have
much
to go
effort.
really, really hard and really fast to start.
You have to look like a really big idiot for about the entire time.
That's the entire time, but the most big idiot in the beginning.
Yes. And there's a mouse droid behind him, like cleaning up all the smudge marks from his wheels.
So that would be kind of cool.
Not the ripstick, the helmet.
That would be funny. He's got red neon lights under, like runner lights under the bottom.
What is his ripstick has lights underneath it? Like it
His
has.
helmet.
Okay, all right.
The ripstick has like sparkle glitter on it or something.
Great.
It's got that sparkle. What do you call it? What's the stuff people would put on their bike handles back in the 90s? The sparkle trails.
Oh, the streamers.
Yeah, the streamers.
His ripstick has streamers on it
Anyway,
to make it go faster.
so that could be cool. And then for the final act of Last Jedi, there's a rumor that, so we talked about the final act last time about how we were wondering whether Kylo would be redeemed or not.
Mm-hmm.
And this one, I'm sure this happens at some point in the movie. I just don't know if it's like, I don't know. I don't know how big of a moment it's going to be, but the rumor is the final act of the movie is going to be this huge battle between Rey and Kylo,
Right.
which, yeah, I get. That's a pretty safe bet. I think
I mean,
pretty much
yeah.
anyone can predict
Right.
that's going to happen at some point. Yeah, I just I want it to be more interesting than that.
Yeah, and it's also.
I don't want it to be Return of the Jedi all over again, and it's just a battle between the final battle between good and evil, and then
personal battle.
yeah, and then it ends up being
Well, it's also rumored that her lightsaber is just going to be Luke's remade, right?
yeah. So the same person who most of these leaks are coming from also says that Rey's lightsaber is going to be reforged.
From Luke's.
The original one, right? The one that she had, Luke's old one.
Yeah.
And that the actual rebuild is not going to be shown on screen.
She'll just have it
Yeah.
by the time, because we're still assuming that time jump
Yeah, so
at
a
the beginning of
year. A
9.
year is the rumor time jump.
Right.
Well, we've heard a couple things actually. We've heard a couple years. We've heard a year. I don't really
Too
know.
long will be weird.
Yeah, a year seems
I
about
think
right.
a year for regrouping makes sense, but like if it's a few years, like that's a lot of time for the First Order to not have destroyed everything.
Sure. Yeah, and a lot to catch us up on
Right.
if that needs to happen at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I sure a battle's probably going to happen. I don't know. I would want it to be more complicated than that. You
Than
know,
just a
because
battle.
because we've got Rey questioning her place. We've
Mhm.
got Kylo probably who's going to go crazy
Right.
in 9 and just, lose himself to anger and all this crap, but then still has that doubt inside of him.
Right.
Or just needing validation
Right.
from somebody.
It's someone to love him.
Right. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I also think it would be kind of repeating Force Awakens a little bit.
It'll also be interesting. I mean, we know that Snoke was facilitating their connection, right? In The Last Jedi.
I
Or
still
he
don't.
took,
I
he
know
took
we've
credit.
talked about
He took
that.
credit for it, right?
I know we've talked about that. I still think that there's a
Right. That's what I'm saying. Is I mean,
Snoke may have
took
taken
credit for,
he may have
or
taken
said
credit for
he
it,
was doing that.
but the Force, it was like their destiny to connect like that. It's the Force made it
Right.
happen.
So it would be very interesting too for that to continue.
Their connection.
They're like their very direct connection with each other.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
it's
it would.
almost like it's like when you think of any war that's broken out where like obviously I fight for this army and you fight for that army and we respect each other as generals, right?
Yeah.
But we still have our battle to fight. We still have to fight each other, but I respect you and and you respect me, but may the whoever is the victor
Yeah.
is the winner. It would be very interesting if they still had that connection and they still had like a weird respect for each other, even though like their goal was to destroy each other. It would still be very interesting, I think, if they still in 9 have that connection. And
Do you think Rey's goal?
even may still talk to each other and have like this mutual respect, trying to reason with each other from each other's sides.
I wonder.
But like, I will eventually get you. Still having this underlying anger, but still a respect for each other because they both think that each other will be able to be brought to their side.
Right. There was that very subtle kind of thing. So after after the last connection in Last Jedi, when Luke shows up and blows up the hut, right? Because he was actually able to see what was going on.
Right.
The connection was so strong. He could see Kylo and everything. When they had touched, right? They touched hands at that
They were
point.
about to.
They did actually touch,
Did
didn't they? I'm pretty sure.
Maybe.
So yeah, after that last part, and then Rey eventually turns herself over to the First Order. The moments when Kylo is escorting her to Snoke, and they're standing there before Snoke, and then they have the battle and all that. There is a very subtle like bond that's happened.
Yeah, they both have this like mutual understanding,
Right.
of okay, I understand where you're coming from,
Right.
but like, I'm right. That's kind of how
Yeah, I
Rey
would
believes
say
in what she believes, and Kylo believes in what he believes, as wonky as what he believes is. And until Kylo just can't take it anymore and gets angry and tries to take the lightsaber, they both had a very mutual.
Yeah,
I
he
mean,
doesn't get
it
his
was
way.
Very, their conversations were always very understanding and very, it was always a discussion.
well, there
right?
was a common ground.
Right.
You could tell that they had. Yeah.
Yeah, and even though they were both on complete opposite sides, there was never a fight, if you will. It was just like, I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to get you to understand where I'm coming from, type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it'd be interesting if that relationship continues, even though their goal is to destroy each other, but they still have this working relationship.
Yeah.
If you will.
I would say definitely Kylo's goal at this point is to destroy Rey because he's just so angry.
Yeah, as far as he's concerned, he has to.
And out of control. But I wouldn't say that's Rey's goal. I would say Rey's goal, if she even has one,
is to turn Kylo.
Yeah, right.
And I wonder if both of them think they can quote redeem the other. I mean, I wonder if Kylo still thinks
Probably.
because
Yeah,
Kylo
I would
because
say
Kylo
so.
wants to be recognized by anyone. He wants that validation. Maybe his goal is still like I can still get to her.
Yeah.
Like
maybe.
I have to like I can get to her or I'm going to
Maybe.
destroy her, one or the other. If that's like maybe both of their goals is still trying to convert the other
Right.
to
right.
thinking the way they do.
Yeah.
And it's either going to happen or one of them's going to die.
In their minds.
Yeah, I mean,
I
even
think-
even
I
in the
think,
end of
yeah.
the movie, someone has to be either Kylo has to be redeemed or he has to be killed.
Yeah.
I don't see 9 ending without one of those two things happening: Kylo dying or being redeemed.
Well, yeah, there has to be some sort
Or
of
it ends
resolution
and Rey's
there,
turn
sure,
dark,
but-
and then we're like, "What the shit?" And then
No, that wouldn't happen. There has to be some sort of revolution, sure, or resolution, I should say. Sure.
yeah,
But yeah, I would want it to be more than just a repeat of Force Awakens where there's a big battle that's, really cool, and there's also there's planes in the air and they're fighting with lightsabers on the ground, and
yeah,
and
like you're
then,
saying, like Return of the Jedi needs to be very personal, a very personal battle, almost.
yeah, I mean, it still would be following the Return of the Jedi formula a little bit to have a battle at the end. And I'm saying I want more than that. I don't want to just follow a Star Wars formula.
Well, yeah,
I want it to be
but you don't want the battle between
the
them
way
to
Last
just be a
Jedi
giant
was.
battle.
The way Last Jedi was, like it was all very familiar and very Star Wars, but there wasn't necessarily a formula to it. It was like left
Maybe.
turns
Yeah.
everywhere. I want it to have more of that feel than more of the Force Awakens
Maybe,
type
but
of.
we definitely do need a large lightsaber battle in this film because we didn't get that in Last Jedi. I think we need like a real, because if you think about it, we have not gotten like a real, actual, full-on lightsaber battle. Even Force Awakens was like she was just getting to know.
She was just trying to hold her own.
Right. So like
that's
both
true.
of them being like fully now
comfortable.
comfortable with the lightsaber. I think we need like an actual cool, badass, like drawn out lightsaber fight, like you had with Luke and Darth Vader at the end of Jedi,
Maybe,
where
maybe.
they were both. I mean, obviously, lightsaber fights now compared to then are completely different, but there was a very personal fight between them.
Like a Phantom Menace kind of.
Maybe not that
lightsaber
big,
battle.
but I mean, I think because we haven't had one between these two, I think we definitely need like a big, drawn out some sort of fight at some point between them.
Yeah, maybe.
And if that's the final battle between them, I mean,
Which,
that
by the way,
looks to
I
be where it's
will
going.
say, and I don't know if a whole lot of people would argue with me, but the lightsaber battle at the end of Phantom Menace is the best lightsaber battle in all of Star Wars.
That's fantastic. Yeah,
I will die on that hill. I don't care what you have to say about
the rest of that movie.
Phantom Menace.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
obviously,
it's-
the battle in Clone Wars with Yoda was complete
that was
bullshit.
too much.
And then Revenge of the Sith was cool, but it was still too much CGI and all that junk.
I mean, the fact that you have Ray Park being Ray Park, as
Yeah,
Maul,
actually doing
and
all that
actually
stuff,
fighting
right.
with a lightsaber, like that
Right.
was. I mean,
and the way it was kind of drawn out, but it had like stages. There was like it was building up to something. It was
Right.
it was great.
yeah.
It was great.
I mean, the battle in The Force Awakens was really good. I just think for these characters,
But again, like I was saying, it's very like Rey was just trying to just not die.
yeah,
You know,
I think these characters kind of like they need to have that fight. Like they need a real like show of.
you gotta work it out.
Yeah, they just need to battle it out. And I think they need that. And
Yeah.
I want a big lightsaber fight like Phantom Menace, right? Like I want a big lightsaber battle.
Yeah, I could see that.
For both for what they believe in. It's an emotional fight
Maybe-
because they both still have this thing they believe in.
Maybe if it was, I don't know, just like a vehicle for exposition, or like a way for them to just talk and work things out. Maybe
Maybe.
that would be what I'm looking for. But yeah, I don't know.
I mean, yeah, you could.
But I mean, long story short, that rumor is that's a safe bet.
Yeah.
Anyone could say that. So
I do think it's interesting, at least from the rumor, that her lightsaber is still going to be Luke's.
that she's not going to build her own.
Yeah. Like,
And she
Just-
even has the texts with her.
just from a fan perspective, we're not going to have a new lightsaber model. right? Like we're not gonna have a new hilt. We're still just gonna have the one new one that came from these movies, which is Kylo's.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wanted a Rey. I want Rey to have her
A
own.
real.
I want her to have her own hilt in the
Yeah.
Um,
Do you think a reforge though would change the color of the blade?
I mean, if she's using the same crystal and just like putting back together what they broke, but to me
Maybe
it looked
not.
like the crystal broke.
That's. I mean,
'Cause that's the explosion that
it
happened, right?
exploded. Yeah.
So I thought the crystal
I don't
was
know if that's
completely
just like
broken and
an
destroyed.
energy thing, like container that exploded inside, or the actual crystal, or what?
I mean, yeah, I thought the crystal broke, which is
I don't
why
know.
if it's reforged, it may have to have its own crystal and be a different color.
Yeah.
So it could be the same hilt, different color blade.
I mean, it could be that they were actually pulling it by the crystal
Yeah.
when they were pulling it towards each
It's
other,
true.
and then they just shattered the crystal.
So I
So,
mean,
I
yeah, it
don't
could be
know.
the same hilt. Well, obviously a different look. There might be some like scarring on it from where it's put back together type
Yeah.
of thing.
Duct
But
tape.
it could be a different color blade. But I don't know. I just in the pantheon of lightsaber hilts, I wanted one more.
Yeah.
Um,
And not the one hilt that was built with spare camera parts.
right,
in
right, exactly.
1977.
Yeah, we've had that hilt through all of the films now, and
Yeah.
I mean it's the Skywalker saga, so I understand. Because Luke had it, and Anakin had it, and Luke had it, and now Rey's had it, even though she's not a Skywalker, God forbid. And I understand that like that almost like the lightsaber is like the anchor point, of carrying through all these films.
Sure. It's like the
And-
droids. It's seen
Yeah,
a lot.
and I
It's
get that, but I
a
don't
piece
know.
of history at this
I
point.
feel like let the past die. I feel like that should when that lightsaber died, I think Rey needs her own. So I don't know how I feel about getting a reforged Luke lightsaber or Anakin lightsaber.
Yeah. Oh, we will see. That's again
Maybe she has two.
2 lightsabers.
It happens.
Yep.
There's a few of those people.
It's a right angle. It's just half of Kylo's lightsaber.
It's just the one guard, like the little tiny
Yeah.
offshoot.
It's a right angle blade.
So let me understand this. It's like you're
It's like a normal lightsaber, and then on the right side there's a
So you
right
have-
90
you have the
degrees.
hilt. You have the hilt, but the lightsaber, like if I'm holding the hilt straight up,
Yes.
perpendicular, like it's pointing towards
You
the
got a blade
ceiling.
up.
I wasn't even thinking of a blade going up. Like I'm holding the hilt, and just a
Okay.
blade is shooting out away from me, but I'm holding the hilt straight out with the handle going up and down in front of me, but a
yeah.
blade just sticking straight out in front of me, like a tire iron.
It's Count Dooku's lightsaber, but all the way 90
I'm
degrees.
picturing a tire iron, but a lightsaber.
Yeah.
Basically, like you have the handle, but just with a 90-degree lightsaber, that just blade that just
Yep.
comes out the top and goes straight in one direction.
That's the new one. Yep.
Is it like a party clacker that you spin? So you just spin the handle and the lightsaber, the blade spins around.
It's the logical progression from those stupid spinning lightsabers in Rebels that the Inquisitors
with the
had.
handles in the middle. Yeah. That can make you fly for some reason. Yeah.
Somehow they're able to make you fly.
You know how light beams make you fly when they spin fast?
Yeah.
Like a helicopter, but with light.
you know how
You know when you put
you know how lines of energy generate lift.
when you put flashlights on the end of helicopter blades
You know how
and you go up way faster? Yeah, that.
Yeah.
Um,
but it's half of that.
light doesn't weigh anything. So it just makes you go. Whatever. Rebels. Always the bane of my existence.
That was the Jar Jar Binks of
the
Actually, I think
lightsabers.
everything in Rebels was the Jar Jar Binks of Rebels. Pretty sure.
No, yeah.
All right, this is
Jar Jar was the rebels of Phantom Menace.
okay. Yeah, yeah, you're right.
They've superseded. There's another level lower for me now
Yes.
because everything else has made Jar Jar now a better character for me since that happened, but nothing has redeemed Rebels yet.
I disagree with the Jar Jar thing, but that's a whole other story.
We've talked about it before on here, I think.
Have
Yep,
we?
that is for another time.
It's time to end this.
Make a note. We'll talk about Jar Jar eventually.
Okay.
All right, we've talked for many times.
About
If you like this podcast, please go to iTunes and leave us words and stars.
Actually.
You can just write the word stars in your review. Just a review that says
Stars!
stars.
1 star.
Yeah. And do that. You can find us anywhere that sounds are put on the internet. If you want to find us on Facebook, you can do that. Or we're on YouTube if you like to listen to the audio from just a video with a static image. But if you really enjoy the podcast, you can go to patreon.com/hokey religion and you can give us money. Everyone loves money, especially us.
Especially us, who don't have any.
It helps to support the podcast because making this is not free. If you enjoy it, you can just
free
give us
for
a couple
you.
dollars for one time, and it's appreciated.
Fucking
Jerk holes. We love you.
you jerk holes.
And if you want to send us
And
sweet
more.
nothings for Valentine's Day, you can email us at asklobot@hokyreligion.com.
Look
We will
out
take
for
your
the
questions.
Valentine's Lobot coming soon.
Oh yeah, I got to do one of those. It's been a long time.
Everybody looks forward to those.
I haven't done one of those in a while. Yeah, you can send us questions, comments, concerns, angry photos of yourself, whatever you want at asklobot@hokyreligion.com.
Mm-hmm.
I think I said all of the things, Michael.
I think that's all of the things that need to be said.
That's
At this
plenty
point.
from us. Yep, I'm good.
Look forward to the announcement that will happen that we didn't talk about. Or
Yeah.
that we did talk about. We totally did talk about it.
Watch the Star Wars show and see what we were talking about when we said, wow, that was cool.
Okay, that's all for this one.
All for episode 89. This is Tyler.
This is Michael.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Hokey religion is an ancient weapon. Hokey religion is an ancient weapon, for no match for a good blaster at your side.